Hello, and welcome to Funded Academy. Today we will talk about our fundraising action plan template. This is where we do all of our fiscal year planning and house all of our information in one place. On the first tab, we have the dashboard. This is set up to give a snapshot and record of where each school or organization is in the fiscal year. This is also where we set the goals for each that are built off of the strategies. In the first section, we have our individual goal. And depending on the organization, you'll create your annual fund, you'll create a goal around board giving or major gifts. You'll also start by recording how they did in those areas the year before, and then help set the goal for the next year. You also have your foundations, government competitive grants, your corporate non-event, and then event section. You will also have in column E, the fiscal year 25 forecast, which will be built off of our tool, and that is what we expect to come in. And then we'll have the actual, where do they actually land, and how much money do they need to reach their goal, and where are they at in terms of the percentage of their goal. At the bottom, you'll have a snapshot of where their goal is, their forecast, and their actual. And then you'll have a snapshot of money to goal. And then I'm unsure what this is. We'll have to see. Next, you can also write any notes on the bottom, anything that describes or is relevant to the partner. The next tab you have is strategies. The strategies section is where you set your goals, you set your targets, which will fill in on the dashboard. So if you are setting an annual fund campaign, for individuals, you'll set a time frame. You'll share the activities that you will do to meet that, and then you'll set your target for that. So say you want to raise $100,000 for the annual fund, and then you'll put the target here. You'll talk about actual, where they are currently. Will fill into the dashboard. And then you'll also set other targets to help the partner see different ways to measure it. So if it is, number of donors or a retention rate, we have some suggestions in there. You will create that. In individuals, you have your board giving, miscellaneous, or major gifts. In foundations, it's the same: funder acquisition, time frame, description, how many, grants are you going to pursue, what's needed to pursue to hit the target, how many, you can measure new percentage of or a number of applications completed for new opportunities, and the award rate. You'd also document the government applications and set targets there. For the corporate sections, you would have, maybe there's volunteer engagements. You're setting, how many volunteer events that you're going to do. This may or may not raise money, so you might not fill in the target, but maybe after a volunteer event, you would do a campaign and ask for support. You could fill that in. Corporate donors, non-matching events, volunteer engagement opportunities. For the next, you could do corporate grants. How many corporate grants are you going to apply for? And then measuring maybe how many corporate grants have been submitted. Some of our partners do cause marketing or round up campaigns. So maybe, how the length of the campaign, or how much you'd raise, but maybe that you're doing that type of campaign. And then under events, you have your, possibly like if you have a fall festival or spring health and wellness expo or cultivation steward event. So setting a target for each event, this will help see what it'll take to hit the overall goal by setting these smaller targets. We also included the development operations, whether they're modifying their CRM or are they building some other, working on their SOPs for development, setting those goals and strategies down there to improve their overall strategies for fundraising. The next is the action plan. So what are the tasks and activities? Who's taking what steps? What are the due dates? Who's the owner, helper, approver? What is the status? And what are the notes for each? So is there somebody who is writing an email, an LOI template that can be sent out to all of the funders, past and present? Any annual fund campaigns, board giving, major gifts? So these are really holding everybody accountable for their action plan. The next is the MOCA. So really, who is doing what within the organization, within development? So you have your manager, you have your owner, who's consulted, helper, and approver, and you would do it for each one. So the development operations, who is the manager, who's overseeing it, who actually owns the work? Is there somebody that needs to be consulted? Who is the helper who can help you out with some development operations? And then who is the ultimate approver? Who needs to say that it's complete or that everything has been done? Next, we have our Foundations tab. And in the Foundations tab, the top sections will populate in our dashboard. So it's very important to keep this accurate as possible. In the foundation prospect, we have the foundation name, the status. So then you can click, is it an initial outreach? Is it a cultivation schedule meeting? Has the grant been submitted or is it planned? Is there an award? Is it declined? Is it withdrawn? So you can select that drop down. You also have a record of, is it a new or is it a renewal? Many partners will want to know how many new opportunities are they being pursuing, or is it a renewal one? Then you have OST programs, so being able to put in what is that program for, and adding there. We have added another section for partners that are maybe national. So like, you can have program area and add a column to say what region or state if there is a partner that is national. You'd have the due date, the request, the probability, and then the forecast. The way that we typically calculate the probability, if it is an extremely competitive application, it's a national application, they typically get thousands of applications. We usually rate it as a probability of 5. Sometimes 1 to 5% probability. If it's a more general application but competitive, maybe a 10%. If it's a local opportunity with not as many applications, maybe 25%. And then if the partner has built a relationship with the funder, then we would rate it at maybe 50%. If they had a recent conversation, the funder is aware that they're applying and help counsel them on that. If it looks like it's highly likely, we would do 75%. And that's usually for renewal opportunities. If it looks like they're renewing, they have a strong relationship, and they've spoken to a program officer. So that's how we calculate the probability, which will then indicate forecast. You then have whether it was awarded, so once the award comes in, and whether it was declined. And then you have your action steps. Who's doing what are they doing, what are the due dates, the status, and the results. And this helps track where you are with each funder. Next up, we have our calendar tab. And this is where we really record what does the overall calendar look like. For the first section, it's for proposals and LOIs. What are you submitting when? What are the reports? What are the development tasks? And down here, it will track it. So say you have a deliverable target of trying to do 36. This will count it as you end up submitting it. And I think one thing that's important to note is I've seen people who put the due date when it's actually due or the month that they're going to work on it. So I think that's important for you to decide how you would like to use the calendar. Next, we have the corporate tab, which is very similar to the foundations tab, and will record the same information as you did on the foundations. Next, you have your government tab, and these are some of for your competitive government grants. We have some partners who like to include it under their foundations tab, but for the sake of the dashboard, it's better to keep it separate so it reports out on that. It also helps you assess how much you are getting from government grants. And you would include the type of government. Is it a formula? Is it competitive? What's the status? Is it cultivate, plan, submitted, awarded, denied, or do not apply? Sometimes you find out that they shouldn't apply in this round, so that's when you put that in. You would do the actual of what did you get in fiscal year 24 for that? What did you get in fiscal year 25? What is the probability, the forecast? Was it approved or declined, and any notes? The next section is events. And this is where you would capture any money that comes in for your events. So say you do a fall festival and you do a solicitation at the event, the donor's name, what event it was, the donation type. So was it a donation? Was it a sponsorship? Or was it a ticket purchase? And the amount. And you will include it for the different events that the partner does. Next, we have individual donations. So you have your donors, you have your category. So is it an annual fund gift? Is it board giving? Is it major gifts or other? It's very important to think about recording the board givings. Oftentimes on foundation documents, it can ask for how much does your board give or what percentage, and it'll also help track those as you think of different strategies. You know, one strategy has been to capture 100% board giving, and so this tool will help you capture that. The next is the campaign. Is it Giving Tuesday? Is it a spring campaign? Is it board donations? Is it reoccurring, those monthly gifts that people give? And then you can record the appeal. They donated because they got an email on this date. That will help track actions. Then next you have the amount, the date, and did the money, was it received? Because sometimes, you know, people will send in checks, so make sure it's captured there. You can also add a tag for if the gift has been acknowledged to help capture that. On the side, you'll have this that will fill in, which will connect to the dashboard. Next are your major gift plans that look similar to the foundation and corporate tab. This will help you figure out how to cultivate those major gifts. And so who's that individual prospect? What's the status of the solicitation or where you're at? Are you cultivating, doing initial outreach? Is it a renewal? What's the program area? So very similar to the foundations tab, but this is for your major gifts plan. The next tab is your prospect research. And this is everything that you include in your research as different prospects come in. This could be done when you have, you're starting off an initial project where you're doing that research, or this can be used when people send foundations they would like you to look into. So you would have your rank. We rank it as a 1, 2, or 3. 1 is extremely well aligned. Either you have a relationship or there is an open application process, and we'd rank it as a 1. 2, a rank of 2 would be that it's less aligned, but maybe there's a relationship there, or maybe it's a cold, maybe it is an open application process where you can reach out and submit an LOI and build that relationship. And 3 is not as well aligned opportunity. And DSQ is disqualified, so that would be something that you would not apply for. You would then have your type. You have your corporate, foundation, government, or individual. You would record the name of the prospect, any points of contact, their emails, the website, their website, the application process, any relevant due dates. What are the type of applications? So do they accept LOIs, invite only, or open applications? Who are the eligible orgs? Is it for 501c3s, 501c4s, charter schools? What are their focus areas? So you can select these. They're really into college access or early childhood, and that will tag that funder. In Candid, you could look at the foundation assets. How much money do they have? How many grant awards do they give? How much money did they give in their most recent 990? How many grants did they give? How many education awards did they give? Yeah, in terms of money and also number. Where are they located? Do they have a geographic focus? Any relevant grant range? Where do you see them typically giving, which you can also find in Candid or on their 990s? And then any information about the funder, any funded comments, or any comments that we have or additional context. Maybe we've had a recent conversation with that funder. And then any organization notes. So if you're working with a partner, you could record, they could say, I spoke to that person 3 years ago and they said this. And then you have the option to also include an instrumental profile. And then last, we have our donor stewardship plans. It's really, really important to capture your donor stewardship after a gift comes in. So really working with a partner of how you're going to respond. What happens immediately after a gift comes in, what happens in 24 hours, what happens in 7 days, 14 days, 4 weeks. What does that look like once a gift comes in? Does the executive director send an immediate email, or does the development team notify the appropriate people? Does a thank you email go out in 24 hours? Does an acknowledgement letter go out in 7? Thinking about what are the exact steps. Are you inviting them quarterly to events after they donate? And what does it look like year round? And these are, the first top section is for new or lapsed donors, and the below is for those returning stewardship plans. So somebody who typically gives to your organization. This is the whole fundraising action plan. And remember, everything will be populated on the dashboard once you fill out the tab.